Abusia ya entiye echese eye 2027 ena NDC amayokonu aye omadwe se omunso bekwa akoto aba na omu ayi omu franka tunia obedi omonim na chese 2028 no omode ahihye so na ene deidie ensema chese eba monte so enye asem ketwa na eye mpenimfo tetiu na bi ena aye omadwe se omu beko na omu akopre na eye ensem a omu ba eye campaign ombeba beye na se ombetumi akonvensi Ghana for ne ato abade amu se ebeye denyo eno die ejina omu so na eye Mr. Tony Edu achese eba ne NDC amayokoni dia na chese enye asem kitwa dim akwatena waba monte so ede insemba kumienu bi abetudwa enye asem kitwa kame ho na yinkotie insem ne bi
ana Samuel Koku anyidoho the bull ako Twitter ni X handle na wako twere insem bi ede afa ensem a na yura Tony Edu ede tudwa in this interview ewo Gold FM Koku anyidoho ensem wa twere ne say and we use 6 exclamation marks. No say. Mr. Tony Edu actually doesn't want to live to see the next phase of the NDC. This is sad. He wants to depart before the obvious happens. Not a question mark. Obviously, this is a very sad and touching statement from one of NDC's founding pillars. One of the pillars of the NDC doesn't want to see the next phase of his own party. No yet. Another 4 exclamation marks. I am weeping silently in my heart. So does majority of NDC Star Wars weep in their heart because we can feel what Mr. Tony Edu feels. Does the NDC really have a next phase? And now, Mr. Samuel Koku anyidoho assigned to another 4 exclamation marks. Empty. The multi-million-dollar question is: a dear pa na ekoso ewo this NDC Star Wars omutrim after John Mahama. The NPP is privileged because the NPP has a candidate in the limelight of Ghana elections since 2008, and that is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And it is a fact. Only that cheap political propaganda and be disputed. So since 2008, the NPP has had one consistent fellow in Ghana's political arena with respect to elections, and it is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And it is the same time, and now His Excellency John Dramani Mahama so about into the frame. And today, so when I'm paying for it, he said Dr. Tony Edu, Samuel Koku anyidoho, and the rest express this sentimental. Na ediana your guess is as good as mine. Yanko heard a video of the interviewer, Dr. Tony Edu, granted to Gold 99.8 FM Accra. Now, or expressing this sentiment said on Peso Behunu the next phase of the NDC. And you know, the Empire Plan said, Nay, say Yakupon Fanwa, hallelujah, and the budget. But the next phase of the NDC after John Mahama, he doesn't want to see that.
That whoever is planning to take over from Mahama, a great deal depends upon the outcome of the Mahama administration. If it does well, it inures to the party, and therefore it creates a wind on which the potential or the prospective person can ride. But I don't know. I don't want to be here. Maybe by the time it comes to that point, I will be gone.
You don't want to see what happened to the party next?
No.
You don't want to be around to see?
I don't want to. Sana, I'm old though. I try. But I'm old. God has been good to me. But I wouldn't mind if he takes me today.
But because essentially, I think, would you not at least want to see where the future of the party, you know John Mahama?
All I want to see is live long enough to see the Black Stars qualify for the World Cup and see them play well during the World Cup.
Okay. Black Stars qualifying for the World Cup. They're playing well at the World Cup.
Yeah.
I see. You're a big sports fan?
Oh, yes. My house in London used to share a wall with West Ham's Upton Park. A wall. So sometimes I used to stand on the balcony, back room of my house, and I could see the field till they increased the length of the wall. So I was supporting West Ham. In fact, I was supporting all London clubs. Tottenham, West Ham, Arsenal, Chelsea. But when any of them meet Arsenal, I want Arsenal to win. But apart from that, any team that comes to London to play, I want the London club to win.
I think that we had discussed this in the run-up to the 2024 election, the potential positives and negatives of all of the candidates who were running, especially President Mahama and Dr. Bawumia. And one of the potential negatives that was expressed about President Mahama's candidature was that if he were elected, he will be doing a one-term. The reason why that was a potential concern was that if you look at the constitutional arrangements that has been put out in the 1992 Constitution, you will see that the arrangement is such that the operators of the Constitution, that's Ghana and the Ghanaian political scene, will be changing presidents every other election. So if you go to election 1992, the one who wins 1992 is likely to run for the 1996 election, and after 96 to 2000. And then if he's able to win, he'll be there 2 terms, and then another one comes, and that's really what has happened. Now, the danger is that where the president is running in his second term, so I'm referring to January 1997, when Rawlings took the final oath for the second term, and therefore he's not eligible to run for the 2000 election. We saw the process. As soon as the 1997 handing over was over, groups were beginning to emerge within the ruling party about the future, about the succession. It's commonplace, it's normal in every political situation. In America, they will have it down. If it becomes clear that Donald Trump is not running for 2028, groups will emerge as to the succession. And political party people are always going to differ in who should be the successor. They are hardly going to have a 100% opinion. Now, that process affects every government in terms of your performance and in terms of your delivery. But it is anticipated that you will be in your second term. So you may have established certain things that can keep running, because naturally it is a cost to the democracy itself. It's an opportunity cost to democracy itself. For democracy's own sustenance, we must have that disturbance. That's the philosophy. So that we can sustain the process, there has to be the disturbance, which is that people are going to coalesce around opinions for the succession of the president. So in 1997, our first experience with it, the NDC, which was the ruling party at the time, observed that this is potentially dangerous and that Rawlings was leaving and people were coalescing around Guzi Tano especially. People were coalescing around ministers. People thought that there would be the return of Kwesi Botwe to lead the party, all of that. So the elders of the party were concerned about this. This was the first time we were confronted with this kind of situation. What did they do? They decided to go to Flight Lieutenant Rawlings and urge him to end the conversation by declaring, and he was the supreme leader of the party in terms of the founding it and all that. So he had a very powerful voice. To end the process by declaring that Professor Mills was going to be the running mate. Now, he did this as early as 1998, 2 whole years before the election.
You're talking about the Swedru Declaration.
The Swedru Declaration. Now, once he made that declaration, the matter ended. And then we went into 2000 elections. NDC didn't win. But the disturbance to the government was reduced significantly because of that announcement by J.J. Rawlings. And the fallback was that Guzi Tano and co actually left the party and formed their own party. And that affected the NDC in the year 2000 elections. Then Kufuor became president. Between 2000 and 2004, there was government stability because it was obvious that Kufuor was going to be on the ballot. And so within the MPP, the ruling party, there were no people coalescing around an opinion and dividing themselves. There was nothing like that. Kufuor was going to run. The MPP, I believe, passed a resolution in one of their congress that when the sitting president is running, you don't need to have a Congress. So they went through that process smoothly. Then Kufuor took the oath in 2005. As soon as he did, second term of the MPP, the government was going to be disturbed. It's a cost to democracy. So the coalition started around Alan Martin, Nana Akufo-Addo, Hackman Oswajiman, Michael Quay Jr., Michael Quay Sr., Yao Safo-Mafu, and all of these people. What did Kufuor do? He became very concerned and began to engage publicly that what is happening. Then he decided that, look, if any of my ministers wants to run for president after me, leave the office by this date. And then you saw a mass resignation. The first time we've had it, and we've never had it before, a mass resignation of about 12 to 14 ministers on one day, because this was going to disturb the government. Now, this kind of
that's where the popular don't speak ahead of time statement came from. From Kufuor.
The democratic arrangement. This disturbance supposed to occur every other election. Yeah. And so we went through it in 97, then we go through it again in 2008. And then came Professor Mills. So Professor Mills ran, and he was going to run for another term when he won in 2009. So there was no disturbance of the first term, which is usual, and the government was stable. And then President Mahama came in. President Mahama came in, and then he was also running for 2016. So there was fairly stability within the context of the government. There were some small concerns, but it was fairly stable. Akufo-Addo comes in, and then he runs up to 2020. So between 2020 and 2024, we have had that kind of disturbance where after Akufo-Addo took the oath, there was a concern about the MPP stability. Alan Martin was running, the vice president is running. So you have disturbance, but they have some programs that are stable. You have a Greek minister running. The reason why you naturally will have this disturbance is that if you're a Greek minister and you must have a meeting with people towards the pursuit of policy, but you are told that the constituency chairman in a constituency that you really want to win is looking for you, and it's in Samamboy in the Western region, you will go. And so you are going to have divided attention. That should occur in a second term where programs are already running. However, this situation, so Akufo-Addo comes in with 2020 and 2024, we have that problem. Then we elect John Mahama in 2024. Then the next election cycle, you are having that problem again. That is where Ghana is losing. That's the danger. It's not a danger to NDC, it's a danger to the stability of the government. And it's a cost to democracy that is necessary for democracy sustenance. So we find ourselves in a catch-22 situation. There's nothing that we can do about it. But it's a story, a lesson that we learn for the future. Because naturally, this government is going to have a stability problem. And more so because the people who are interested in the succession are very key and core to the movement of the government and its policy. Chief of Staff. That's a very powerful, important position. And this is the first time we've seen a chief of staff who is so affable, like Julius. People like him. People are calling on him. The youth are following him when he's running. They want him to become president. And he's chief of staff of the government. Then you have a great minister. Then you have as key a person as a finance minister in a first term running for office for president. That's devastating. Your chief of staff is competing with your finance minister for the succession of the president. Then the party that is supposed to give stability to these things, call everything to order and say, look, we are the NDC party. We'll put you in the government. This thing you do, you have to stop. That's not going to happen because the chairman of the party is also eyeing the succession. So that's a problem. I hope that civil society experts and posters are looking at this difficulty. It's a problem that we have to take because we need it to sustain democracy. But it's a problem that is intended to occur every other election cycle. Here we're having a back-to-back, and that's going to be devastating. So when I saw it, I was just hoping that it will start, but it will start late. But here we are. Before 1 year is done, a Greek minister some months ago indicated quite clearly, polls are showing that Ato Forson is doing very well. Polls are showing that Idris Haruna, who has actually not stepped forward, is leading. He has done very little in the public to indicate that he wants to be president after John Mahama. But the polls show that he's leading, and that means that there's a big call on him from the grassroots to come into the race. What portfolio is he handling? Education. Such a critical portfolio handled by such an important person would have to have some ifs, buts, negatives about it because he's running for president. So Johnson Asiedu-Katiah's thank you tour doesn't come to me as a surprise. He wants to indicate that he is the alter ego of the process. He wants to indicate that he's leading the process. He wants to show the rest of the people that he's in command and control of the party infrastructure. That's really what he's doing. And you can't begrudge him for that. Now, the narrative that has come from Asiedu-Katiah's camp, which is in support of the the thank you tour that he's doing, says that there was a three-pronged election campaign approach. There was President Mahama's approach, the vice president's approach, and the party chairman's approach.
Yes.
President Mahama's approach and that of the vice president were both directed at winning votes for the presidential seat, and the party chairman's approach was winning the parliamentary. So what Asidu Nketia is trying to put out in this narrative is that whereas President Mahama won the presidential elections, it was he, Asidu Nketia, that guaranteed the supermajority that the NDC have in parliament, and therefore the NDC owes him something. That's really the point that he's making, and he may have a point in doing so because he knows the party better. He's been through the deep roots of the party. He's been the eternal general secretary of the party before he became chairman. So yes, he has a point. So, I mean, really, we can't do anything about it. Ras Mubarak can shout all he wants. This thank you tour is going to happen, and the grassroots are excited about it. Now, guess what Asidu Nketia does on the first day of the thank you tour? He tells the people, he knows that there are concerns about appointments. He knows that the government will be able to give appointments to fewer people than many. He knows. And he knows that has happened. So his first message is what? Those of you who didn't have appointment, your time is coming. When is your time coming? Your time is coming in my time. That's really what he's telling them. That don't worry. It's a 4-year cycle. If you don't get appointment, you elect me, we win 2028, that's your time. Now that's going to generate more votes because those who didn't get appointments are more than those who got appointments. So straight away, he started cutting the party into pieces. And I don't know what we're going to do about that.
But to the extent that he's not a government appointee, does that matter too?